Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. So it's safe to say the trade talks are really starting to heat up in the NHL. The trade deadline is about a month and a half away. And when looking at last year's trade deadline, it started. It wasn't like the usual week before. It started pretty early. At the end of January, both Elias Lindholm and Sean Monahan were traded. Teams got ahead of the schedule in terms of getting these guys for, instead of the final 25 games, getting 35 games out of them. So I thought it'd be a fun idea to go through the 2024 trade deadline and see how those deals are progressing in terms of, did the rentals pan out? Are they still with said team? Did they re-sign them, or they had term on their extension, on their deals? And what did they give up? How's that developing? Who's winning these deals? On top of kind of just being able to see by comparison some of the guys that are on the trade block right now, what their teams can kind of expect to get in return. So yeah, we're going to roll through the 2024 trade deadline. And of course, we got to start with the Elias Lindholm deal that really kicked it off between the Vancouver Canucks. I guess actually Monahan was traded early February. My bad on that. But yeah, Lindholm, this was a massive deal at the time. I thought that Calgary won this pretty decisively at the time because I wasn't that high on Lindholm. But even Calgary's package hasn't aged like that good. We'll start with the Canucks. Lindholm was okay, solid on their playoff run. Was not very productive at the end of the regular season, but wasn't a disaster by any stretch. But they did at the time give up a guy in Bruce Stevich that we thought was going to be a really good offensive defenseman. Had, I think, like 90 points last year in the OHL. He's been playing better of late in the AHL, but probably going to be like a third pair offensive defenseman. They got off Kuzmenko. That was a big part of it. And Kuzmenko, although he balled out the end of the season for Calgary, which kind of screwed them in terms of getting a top 7 pick, but they ended up getting Zane Parekh, so that was a great pick. But yeah, Kuzmenko's struggling this year. I think he's going at like 0.3 points per game or something like that. The first round pick was 28th overall because the Canucks won their division. Matvei Gridin, solid piece for Calgary, but yeah, I think that this deal's kind of aged bad for both teams. The Canucks did not get some like star second line center, and obviously he immediately left after the season. And for the Canucks, you hope that Bruce Stevich can turn into a good third pair guy, and Gridin can be a solid middle six forward. No team really hit a slam dunk with this. We got to switch over to tabs, considering this was the last one on the page. The next deal, February 2nd. I was wrong about this being in late January. Sorry. Don't click off the video because I lied. Sean Monahan for a first-round pick, conditional third in 2027. That condition didn't meet. In terms of Montreal, what they got out of this, they ended up trading up to get Michael Hage in the first round. Liam Greentree to the LA Kings, another prospect that I really like. But yeah, Hage is killing it. So Hage for Monahan, and considering they got Monahan by taking on, well, they got a first-round pick for taking on Sean Monahan. The Monahan experience is insane. It's going to yield them like the 26th in the 14th overall picks. It's nuts. And for Winnipeg, Monahan came out of the gates flying for Winnipeg from what I remember. I think he had like 10 goals in his first 8 goals in like his first 10 games. Didn't really produce that much in the playoffs from my memory, and clearly Winnipeg maybe didn't need forwards at the deadline. They also acquired Tyler Toffoli, but it was really the defense that ended up getting exposed versus the Colorado Avalanche. So definitely a big win for Montreal, but you can't kill, for the way that Monahan was playing during that season, you can't kill them giving up a first-round pick in that situation. Alex Nylander, he played amazing down the stretch for Columbus. I don't even know if he's with the Toronto Marlies at this point, so that's kind of a nothing burger. Okay, this Dallas one, it's like a 3-part. This is going to be confusing. Damn it. Why don't they just have what each people got instead of the isolated deals? But I believe that Calgary got that 2024 second-round pick, Jacob Battaglia, killing it this year in the OHL. That was a great pick at 62nd overall. They didn't get the third-round pick. What was the condition on the third-round pick? All right, but they only got a second-round pick in Artem Grushnikov. I don't believe Grushnikov has really turned into something. And what did New Jersey got a 4th-round pick in as a result? That's in 2026. So Dallas ended up losing in the Western Conference Finals, but Tanev was an awesome piece, and I thought they should have really tried to sign Chris Tanev this offseason. They end up instead giving Dumba. I guess they didn't want to give Tanev term, but we can agree Tanev's going to be put on LTIR at the end of that deal. They ended up getting Lyubushkin and Dumba to replace him. If they re-signed Tanev, this would have been a slam dunk. He was still very effective for them in their Western Conference Finals run on that right side. So this was a big win for both teams. In terms of like who's the most comparable for this, this could be, I think Provorov. I got the trade board up right here. I think Provorov and Pettersson would get at least a first-round pick. So I don't know if there's an exact comparison for this. No real great like I thought Chris Tanev probably should have got a first round pick, but considering Calgary killed it with the drafting there, it's acceptable. Ilya Lyubushkin, speak of the devil, acquired by the Toronto Maple Leafs for a 6th round pick. Didn't really do much. Kind of a liability out there. It was a two-parter with Anaheim. Next up, we got Anthony Mantha for a 2024 second and a 4th round pick. Leon Mugley selected by the Washington Capitals. Yeah, Washington, even despite selling at the deadline last year, still made the playoffs. So clearly they made the right choice, because it's not like if they had Anthony Mantha, they'd be going on some kind of deep run. Very good acquisition by the Vegas Golden Knights. I think someone like Yanni Gourde could get a similar package in terms of a 2nd and a 4th round pick. I remember Alex Wennberg got, I think, a 2nd and a 4th. That's kind of comparable. Tarasenko, a 3rd and a 3rd. It was just so cheap because he had that no movement clause, and he was basically like, I'm not re-signing in Ottawa. I want to go to Florida. You're going to trade me to Florida. You have no leverage. And as a result, helped them go win the Stanley Cup. Wasn't a massive piece of that, but as a goal-scoring middle sixer, awesome by them. You can't really kill Ottawa, even though the return was kind of shit in this situation. Casey Mittelstadt for Bowen Byrum. This one was nuts. This one was absolutely insane when looking at it. Mittelstadt, back half of last year was very good for Colorado, or back third, and to start this year was great, but it's kind of lost his spot as a second-line center. Bowen Byram's been very effective on Buffalo, but has had to kind of play on that right side. Is going to be a restricted free agent this year or next. I think this year. I don't know what the future for either player, honestly, is in their situation, but I guess I would say Buffalo is slightly winning it at this point, considering Colorado locked him up at around $5.75 million. He hasn't been worth that he hasn't been worth that the last 30 games at least. Sean Walker in a 5th round pick for a conditional 2025 first round pick, and Ryan Johansson. Yeah, they were trying to dump Ryan Johansson in on top of getting a guy like Sean Walker. Walker wasn't really that good for the Colorado Avalanche. Didn't really do much in the regular season. Was okay, but this was more so dumping Ryan Johansson. I think he had another year this year as well. So it's getting off that $4 million that half retained that they worked out with Nashville. Very good deal for the Philadelphia Flyers. Thumbs up for them to get that first round pick. And the conditions are only like top 12. And Colorado's not exactly killing it in the standings right now. So there's a decent chance this pick is 21st, 22nd for Sean Walker that they took on in the LA Kings deal with the one that Ivan Provorov and Peterson was involved in. So great asset management there. Adam Henrique. Oh, this was okay. The Oilers. They gave up I hate these goddamn two-parters. The Oilers gave up a 2024 first round pick for Adam Henrique, and then I believe, why am I blanking on this? Yeah, they gave up the 2024 first round pick. Okay, and then Solberg, they traded up. Anaheim traded up to get Solberg from 31 to 23. So they basically turned Adam Henrique into Solberg, and who else? Sam Carrick as well. Awesome by the Anaheim Ducks. For the Edmonton Oilers, you take it. I mean, Adam Henrique was a very solid piece for them. They were able to re-sign him relatively cheap. Win-win for both parties in terms of that trade. Alex Wennberg for a 2nd and a 5th or 4th. Again, I think this is what Yanni Gourde is most likely going to get. When looking at this one, didn't really do much. I mean, he made the Eastern Conference Finals, but Wennberg was not really a massive part of that team, kind of stuffed in that bottom 6. I don't really know much about Nathan Villeneuve, if I'm going to be honest, so I can't really comment too much on this. We got another goddamn two-parter when looking at the trade of Noah Hanifin. They got a 2025 first-round pick, 2024 third. I believe there was a condition on that, but it didn't hit. It was going to be a 2nd, but then it turned into a 3rd. Danila Miramov, solid big defenseman, I believe. In that 2025 first that they have, 2025 first. No, they have a 2026 first. It's so stupid. There's a condition that they could have traded their 2025 first, and it became a 2026. I believe that the Calgary Flames have the 2026 first. Puckpedia got to get better at this. Cap Friendly was better in terms of laying this out. But yeah, for Hanifin was a very effective player. Now, and last year and this season, they locked him up for 7 years at around $7.45 million or something like that. So yeah, this was a win-win. If it's 2026, like I believe it is for the Calgary Flames, it could be. Vegas is still very good right now, obviously, but next season, it wouldn't shock me if Vegas, with some of their older players, regress a little bit and they're a wild card or 3rd in their division, and this ends up being the I'm trying to think, the 24th overall, 23rd overall pick. So yeah, not the worst deal ever for Calgary, but I think Vegas definitely has won this as of right now. This is probably what Ivan Provorov would get. I'm not going to lie. Considering there's not a ton of top-end defensemen on the market, I think he could kind of get this kind of package, or Pettersson. Definitely a first and kind of a mid-round pick. I thought Calgary at the time, I didn't love it exactly. I thought they should have got a little bit more. You look at what Hampus Lindholm was better than Hanifin, but still, Lindholm got like a first and 2 seconds. Next up, Joel Edmondson for a third and a fifth-round pick. Was not a big fan of that for Toronto. Good for Washington. Again, selling. Still made the playoffs. Didn't really matter. Troy Stecher for a fourth-round pick. He's a good depth defenseman. I believe he's back with Edmonton now. Brandon Duhaime, kind of a nothing burger. He was okay, I guess, for Colorado. Yakov Trenin for a third-round pick, basically. Trenin's now in the Minnesota Wild. Again, Colorado wasn't ultra... Well, they got Sean Walker, but then they kind of rounded it out with just 2 solid third-round acquisitions. Ended up in a second-round loss. I don't think that was Yakov Trenin or Brandon Duhaime's fault. I think that was more so like Nichushkin leaving mid-series. Anthony Beauvillier for a fifth-round pick. Again, Nashville ended up making the playoffs, but Beauvillier, not that special of a player. Cade Weber, that was a college deal. Anthony Duclair for a third-round pick. This was a very good deal. If someone can get this kind of value, Duclair was very good for the Tampa Bay Lightning at the end of the regular season. They obviously lost in 5 games to Florida, but that could be a very underrated pickup in terms of a guy of Duclair's stature. I'm trying to look right now. Kyle Palmieri would get more than an Anthony Duclair. Taylor Hall is a guy that maybe if you can trade for him at 2.5, maybe 1.25, if you get him double retained, and he could be worth something. Maybe Duclair again was coming off like torn Achilles, so it was a little bit risky. Jake Guentzel. This was a crazy deal considering they did not get a first-round pick. Bunting, effective middle sixer. Ponomarev, Koivunen. They're playing solid at the AHL level, but those guys are like 2020, 2021 draftees. Harrison Brunicki was a solid pick for the Pittsburgh Penguins. I think he can be a good top 4 defenseman. But yeah, this return is kind of disappointing. I think Brock Nelson will easily get this kind of return in terms of a roster player, a second in like good but not great prospects. I think he would get around the same haul for my New York Islanders. But Guentzel obviously should have probably gotten more. Kuznetsov for a third-round pick. He scored some goals for them. I believe he scored some goals against the New York Islanders, but nothing special. And they half retained, and then his contract was voided, and he decided to go to Russia. That was a wild deal. Kyle Okposo for a 7th-round pick. Eventually was upgraded to a 2024 5th-round pick. Won the Stanley Cup. Love Kyle Okposo. Good deal for the Florida Panthers. They got a veteran leader in Okposo. Didn't play that much on the playoff run, but great locker room guy. Chad Ruedel for a 2027 4th. Kind of a depth defenseman, third-pair guy for New York. Patty Maroon for a 6th. Again, good 4th-liner. Toffoli for I was shocked when Toffoli didn't get a first-round pick, considering he was not making that much money. It was only 4.25 after retention, or no, before retention. 4.2, yeah, 4.25, and they got him at 2.125. It didn't really matter for the Winnipeg Jets, considering their defense just bled so many goals, but that was great value for them. I would expect Kyle Palmieri to get a 2nd and a 3rd-round pick if the New York Islanders decided to trade him, considering he's been so good the last 2 seasons. Last year, 30 goals. Jason Zucker for a 6th-round pick. That was a very cheap, solid acquisition. Klim Kostin to the San Jose Sharks. Guryanov, Eric Johnson. Get your veteran leadership in Eric Johnson. That was a little bit of an interesting deal. Jake Allen, when New Jersey decided to acquire 2 goalies after they were basically already out of the playoffs. Fun fact with this one, interesting detail. I believe, I'm not going to click into the full details because I saw a tweet about this today. If Allen plays 40 games this season, he's already at 15. And considering Jacob Markstrom went down, this goes to a 2025 2nd-round pick. So that's actually something very much to monitor right now. Very good. I mean, I guess New Jersey, if Jake Allen plays great down the stretch, they'll happily give him a 2nd-round pick if Markstrom's out long-term. But, yeah, good work by Montreal, especially considering they've had goalies emerge this season. Andrew Peeke, yeah, that was a weird one. They gave up a 3rd-round pick for Andrew Peeke. Don't know why. This was a bad one. Matthew Dumba, not a good defenseman. Don't know why they did that. Colin Miller, that was a nice little depth pick by the Winnipeg Jets, but they needed more of a big-time defensive move. They definitely need one at this year's deadline. Looking at Ivan Provorov, looking at Marcus Pettersson, go aggressive in terms of that. Then I think we only got a couple more deals. We haven't got into the Hertl one. Connor Dewar, he's still on the Toronto Maple Leafs, right? 4th-round pick, solid, bottom 6 guy. Capo Kakinen for Vanacek in his 7th-round pick. Again, for some reason, Fitzgerald decided to, like, at March 8th, when they were 7 points back at the playoffs and Jack Hughes was about to get shut down, he was like, we got to go all in with our goaltenders and switch it up. But, yeah, that clearly did not work out. Devin Cooley for the San Jose Sharks. I believe he's playing pretty good in the AHL. I don't even know if he's with the San Jose Sharks anymore, but he's killing it down there. Jack Roslovic for a 4th. I think that was solid value, but Roslovic didn't play that massive of a role on the Rangers. And then Hertl. This was the craziest one by a country mile when Hertl got traded for David Enstrom in a 1st-round pick. They got 2/3, but Enstrom, eventually they did flip. And did they flip this pick as well for Yaroslav Askarov? I believe that they did. Enstrom's playing great in the SHL. He's clicking at like 0.6 points per game in his draft year +2. So, yeah, I love this deal for the San Jose Sharks. And then they basically just flipped. They basically did Hertl for Yaroslav Askarov, their future goaltender, their future franchise goaltender. That was a great deal. And that's it. The rest of these were post-deadline deals. So, yeah, that's the 2024 deadline revisited. What are some of these deals? Which ones did you forget about? Which ones do you think were absolute steals? And I'll be seeing the next one. We need this JT Miller trade soon. We need it soon. I'm so pissed off. Just trade him already, Vancouver. And also, by the way, I started making a Substack. Feel free to go check that out in the link tree. I'm going to link it in this video. Just a daily hockey newsletter. Everything condensed in the day before it drops 9 a.m. Eastern time every single day. Just goes over what happened in hockey, and I put my little fun spin on it. Just wanted to mention that, and follow me on my other social medias. I'll be seeing the next one. Peace.